Necrons suck in 8th edition. Let's find out if that's true. Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, Necrons suck in 8th edition. Apparently so. That's what I've heard from a few comments of people who say 7th edition Necrons are so much better. And I want to have a discussion about that in this video. Before we do though, if you would like to keep up to date on the wonders of Warhammer 40k, then please give me a sub and don't forget to hit that bell button so you don't miss a video. Right, okay, so do Necrons suck in 8th edition? So first of all, I think we need to analyse why people are saying, do they suck? And I suppose you have to just look at 7th edition in general. Not just Necrons, but pretty much most of the armies, apart from one or two, where there's quite a good number of formations available to the armies. And those formations, on the whole, make your army pretty powerful. In Necron cases, of course, we had the Reclamation Legion and the Decurion. Now, making that Necron army incredibly, not so much powerful, because I've never said Necrons were powerful in that edition, but they certainly were incredibly survivable. And that was awesome, and it did make Necrons very good. Now there's quite a number of other formations as well, like the Canoptic Harvest and the Destroyer Cult formation, a few others, which really helped boost the army and make Necrons a very good, solid choice. Things are different with 8th edition, admittedly, but I want to analyse that in a second. Now, first of all, I want to have a little sort of backstory almost as such. Now, I don't know where you're coming in as a Necron player. Maybe you're brand new, maybe you're like me, an experienced Necron player. I've been playing Necrons for probably over 15 years now. And I've seen all of the changes in all of the codexes. And that's what I want to have a chat about, really, to start this conversation off. So I want to go right back to here. Now this is where I started playing Necrons, and I played this codex for 10 years, so quite a lot of experience with that codex. And one thing I thought was very positive about the 7th edition Necron codex was that it made Necrons play a little bit like Necrons are supposed to play, basically like a phalanx of warriors and immortals, just basically foot slogging across the table, being very difficult to kill. And that's what this army was like originally. There was quite a few things which made the army have to stick together in that phalanx formation, in particular the Resurrection Orb, which you had to be within 6 inches. And then there was another rule where you could only do the will be back, as it was called then, rather than RP. We had to have another model of the same type on the table for it to be able to do will be back. So you found yourself in like a blob with lots of duplicate units, just being very survivable. It was on a 4+ then, very survivable, and it was very similar to how 7th edition Necrons worked. The disadvantage with the 7th edition Necrons was to get that power in the army, you had to take particular things. And what happened was all the armies became quite repetitive, and we saw pretty much the same armies on the table, or at least the same units on the table. It became quite boring, and that's what a lot of people said about this codex, that it was quite boring, and I can certainly understand that. There's one HQ only with a couple of bits of war gear, and then because of the way the army played, you just had like multiple units of warriors. You had a few destroyers, maybe a Nightbringer or something, one of the Catans. And the armies probably would have looked quite similar in the original codex, excluding Road Traeger, because I never played Road Traeger. But in this codex here, to 7th edition codex, the armies were probably similar, except maybe the 7th edition ones were a little bit more survivable. However, I think the guns were better on here. I remember setting up my Necrons and destroying 5 Imperial Guard tanks on turn 1 with this codex. Gauls weapons used to be awesome back then. Okay, so what did GW do? Well, they introduced this codex to try and bring some flavour to Necrons. This is where they introduced brand new fluff. Haven't read the fluff. I like the fluff in here. This is what my army's fluff is about. But brand new fluff. We had dynasties. We had loads of characters brought in particular the cryptics, who had some really funky war gear, almost like psychic powers, our version of psychic powers. And they introduced loads of new models, which was awesome. So we had new tanks, the Ghost Ark, the Doomsday Ark, we had the Annihilation Barge, the Night Scythe, the Doom Scythe, and you know, Necrons got a lot more flavour, and I think that's where a lot of people probably started to find Necrons that hadn't previously done so. I quite like this codex. I thought they did a good job of this, and this I think was in 6th edition. It didn't last very long. I think it lasted about 2 years, that codex, before we went on to the 7th edition codex, where as it was unlocked, the best way to play them, we got our almost boring Necrons back again. I don't think they're boring. I never think Necrons are boring, but the perception is boring because of the limited army choices that a lot of people took. Not everyone. I mean, how many people take 60 flayed ones? Only me, potentially, in this codex. And you could argue that in this codex here, Necrons were the most powerful, if you want to use the word powerful, that they've ever been. And 8th edition has come out. We've got our new rules. And bearing in mind, these are only intermediate rules. We have no idea what is going to happen when the proper new Necron Codex comes out. However long that's going to be, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 2 years, who knows. But we've got our rules as they are now. And a lot of people that I've seen have been saying the Necrons suck now in 8th edition. So what do I think of that? Well, I don't think they suck. In actual fact, I think it's the best rule set we've had so far. I've only got a few games under my belt with them, but from what I've seen, from what I've read, from what I've played, from the battle reports that I've seen, I am really happy with the Necrons that we've got. And let me explain why. Looking through the rules, most of the units that we've got in our codex are actually pretty good. I'm not talking about being overpowered, I'm talking about being pretty good. And that in itself opens up Necrons tremendously. We are no longer limited to a Decurion, to formations, to Reclamation Legion, having to take certain units to get the best from the army. We are no longer surrounding a Resurrection Orb. Yes, a Resurrection Orb is there. Yes, we will have our characters there. And in actual fact, going back to this book, this edition, our characters never were joining units anyway. They used to be by themselves. So we've actually gone back to this sort of edition rules, but without the limitations for RP. You don't have to surround those units all the time and have other units of the same type on the table. RP is a lot better now. And that really opens up to an army that half plays like this, half plays like this, doesn't play like this, good, and is very, very versatile. We can now pretty much take any of those units in the codex and play them. And that is awesome. And that means that Necrons have just got a massive, massive boost to people who are looking at 40k, are looking at 40k armies. I don't foresee anyone, unless they particularly don't like Necrons, but I don't see anyone looking at Necron armies, the rules, how they play, battle reports and stuff, and thinking Necrons are boring. Look, exactly the same stuff, just robots crossing the board. We are very, very flavourable now. And I think that is awesome. I think we're going to see loads and loads of different type of Necron lists on the table. Yes, Certain things are better than others, and at top level play, obviously those certain things are going to be unlocked. I mean, we already know about Mortals, the Tesla, with maybe a Lord, with the Lord's Will special rule, making those Tesla guns very powerful. Things have already been unlocked, more things will be unlocked, and the armies will shrink down to those most powerful units for top-end tournament play. But I think there is a lot more potential for people to do different things with the Codex. So I don't think Necrons are boring. I don't think that Necrons suck in 8th edition. In actual fact, I think Necrons are going to be the best they've ever been. Not necessarily the most powerful, but definitely the most fun, the most options, the most different army lists, and the most potential to wreck face with a new set of rules from 8th edition. First turn assault, flayed ones. You've got the character where you can deep strike flayed ones and get within 1 inch of a unit. There's lots of good stuff there for Necrons moving forward in terms of winning with Necrons, and that's what I want to discuss in my next video. So what I'm going to do is make a series of videos which will start tomorrow regarding Necrons in 8th edition, and I'm going to be talking almost like a journey of Necrons in 8th edition. So I hope you will join me for that series of videos, and from my point of view, Necrons do not suck in 8th edition. Let me know what you think in the comments box below. Thanks for watching.